What is it you love most about Gracie?
She always knows what she wants.
She's unapologetic.
This month on Movie Night Extravaganza, we're covering many of the biggest Oscar nominees. Most of these entries are nominated for Best Picture. They all have various awards they're nominated for. Tonight we're doing something a bit different, and looking at a film that was almost completely snubbed from the Oscars. This is despite being nominated for all the Critics' Choice Awards, 5 of the Golden Globes, including Best Picture, Musical, or Comedy, a weird one since I'd argue it's neither a musical or comedy. It is an Academy Award-nominated film for Best Original Screenplay, and Sammy Burch and her husband, Alex Mechanic, who have written and co-directed several short films but never written a feature until now, definitely deserve that at least. But it was kept out of all the other categories. I'm talking about Todd Haynes' May December. The film stars Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore.
The script always ended at graduation. It was always, I think, described as two generals kind of meeting on the battlefield in white.
That was beautiful, wasn't it? It was.
And it's based on the story of Mary Kay Letourneau, the teacher who was arrested and convicted for sleeping with her 6th grade student, who impregnated her, and she had his daughter while awaiting sentencing. She was in prison for 3 months and no contact with the kid for life. But then she was caught in the car with the kid, again, breaking her plea agreement and getting sentenced for another 7.5 years. She had another daughter of his while in prison. They then got married and lived as a family until they separated 1 year before her death in 2020.
Traditionally, a May-December relationship is an older person and a younger person, and this is definitely a subversive use of the term. I wanted to set that tone on the title page, that this is subversive.
It's a very human story.
The idea of getting a look closer at the tabloid culture of the 90s and how it has seamlessly transitioned into this true crime frenzy.
However, May December is not an exact adaptation of the story, but is rather loosely based on it and works as a meta-film. Natalie Portman plays a fictional TV actress named Elizabeth Barry, who arrives in Savannah to meet and research the Atherton-Yo family. Gracie Atherton, played by Julianne Moore, is the Mary Kay character.
I have a lot of questions for both of you, but please tell me if this is not the best time.
It's as good a time as any.
Great. Thank you. I wanted to ask you about the box package.
What about it?
I mean, is that a routine occurrence?
I mean, it's a lot less than it used to be.
Elizabeth is working on a movie where she's going to play Gracie and, as a solid method actress, is going around to all the locations where the illicit affair occurred. I think it's good that in this case, they scrapped the idea that Gracie was the kid Joe's teacher and instead have her working above him at a pet store. Joe is the schoolmate of Gracie's first son, Georgie, making them the same age. Elizabeth is also the same age as Joe. Throughout this movie, we have conversations about the purpose of movies like this.
For what? For the movie. So people can see it and understand more. And maybe it's more easier for you. For me. For us.
Dramatizing real-life scandals and affairs and the psychological impacts that can have. Of course, just the presence of Elizabeth prying into their lives as a constant presence with an agenda of her own is enough to make some of the fiction that this family has created to tamp down their dysfunction and to make their story more livable start to unravel.
What if I wasn't ready to be making those kinds of decisions? And then what? Because the kids. What would that mean? I don't understand what you're saying. I'm saying, what if I was too young?
As Elizabeth pushes buttons and interviews everyone from Gracie's ex-husband and first family to her press-hungry lawyer to her neighbors. Elizabeth is also creating fictions of her own. She has a fiance, but is also willing to use her sexuality both on the film's director and on an unwitting Joe. But in some ways, that's also us as an audience, right? We sit in judgment of these tabloid scandals while also devouring them, consuming the sexualized stories.
Absolutely. I think there's like a very active participant, they're very actively participating as an audience member.
These stories are much more complicated and require far more gray area than Hollywood or their tabloids can really provide. And in the end, each of these one-dimensional tabloid stories are somebody's three-dimensional lives.
It's a little more complicated than that.
You're gonna do what you're gonna do, but stories like these
Stories?
don't-
Stories?
You know what I mean. Instances
This is-
of severely traumatic beginnings.
This isn't a story! This is my fucking life!
Like all of us, I'd assume, Gracie is somebody different to each person in her life. She has a complicated relationship with her first family, especially her first son, Georgie, who is permanently traumatized by it. But Joe is still devoted to her, as are their 3 children. She is a good neighbor, and her neighbors are more protective than you might think. Some of this, like Joe's devotion, is perhaps built on a fictional foundation, but is a tangible part of her life. We're also reminded about how dishonest the search for a motive could be in stories like this. At one point, Georgie claims her mother was sexually abused by her brothers and offers to provide illusory evidence to back that up. This is in exchange for a job working on the film.
I read about this job of music supervisor.
Yeah.
I could do this job. Pick out songs for movies? I'd pick great songs.
But easy answers are not always true answers. All of this, I think, points to how dishonest and how complicated the entire process of simplifying somebody's life for the media can be.
I hope you didn't think that disgusting brother thing was real.
What?
Disgusting. I don't know what he's doing telling you these things.
He told you?
I talk to Georgie every day.